it's like an old bruise. Maybe somebody feels like I didn't have any power at that time. Say they were 4 years old. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have any power when I was 4 years old. And every day, and I'm gonna work on that, and I'm gonna draw about it, and I'm gonna write, and I'm gonna think about it. And our vital creative energy is going to the problem,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then this blue black gets a little bit bigger, and then
Mm-hmm.
you see them later, and if again the more attention is going to, well, I have this problem, I can't be here yet until I solve that problem, it makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, that's kind of a strategy that we learn here. However, what I see energetically is if our creative vital energy is looking at the problem, then we actually fuel it. Now it's a little bigger. The universe is going, oh, you like to solve problems. Let me
Mm-hmm.
help attract another scenario.
As you started to wake up to who you are, you started to develop your spiritual gifts even more and uncover, like, wait a minute, I am clairvoyant. Wait a minute. Even though we think we're not these things, we can be if we desire to be. Anyone can be anything that they desire. And it's this like remembrance of, sometimes we had shut those down when we were younger. Sometimes it's just remembering that we have access to them or learning how to access it. And I think that's a really powerful distinction for people to know and to understand, that like it's not it's not just for the quote unquote gifted. Like, we're all gifted in different ways, and these gifts are developed. And I think that's something really empowering for people to remember, is like, we don't always have to go outside ourselves to find the answers. Actually, the most potent answers are within ourselves. And let's just start to study how to access those.
Beautiful. Absolutely well said. I couldn't agree more. I
Mm,
like the word you said, uncover,
yeah.
and the idea that these abilities, we'll call them rather than gifts,
Right.
the
Yes.
abilities are all built in. Like you got
Hmm.
lungs, you got a heart, it's built in.
Right.
You
Yes.
also have clairvoyance ability for clear seeing, clear cognizance for knowing, clear audience. I'm pointing to the chakra. It corresponds to clear hearing, or telepathy is on that level, clairsentience to feeling. We all have them built in. What I didn't realize at the time when I started that was I thought, I'm blind as a bat. I'm taking clairvoyant classes and I am not clairvoyant. This is
Mm,
ridiculous, but I'm enjoying it. It's fun,
yes.
except for that person seeing more than me.
Right. Okay. Yeah. The comparison. We are like, meh. Yeah.
Well, what I learned later was I just had filters in the way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Uh,
And to not
for
let
me,
that stop you. Like, as we compare, really, it's about comparing
yes,
our journey to ourselves versus outside of ourselves. It's not fair to be like, oh, that person's been doing it for 20 years, I must suck at this. It's like, no, what they're showing you is what's possible.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that different abilities may open at different rates for different people,
Yes.
depending on what our curriculum is here in this Earth School.
Mhm.
What are we learning here? So some
Mm.
people may be more tuned in to listening to spirit, some tuned in more to knowing. I was tuned in more on a knowing level. I just
Mhm.
knew things. It didn't
Yeah,
make
same.
sense why I knew them.
Mhm.
I couldn't see for a long time. I felt like 6 months. I'm in class 3, 4 times a week, and I'm like, I got nothing here.
Yeah, is this okay? Yeah. Yes.
But I'm signed
That,
up for
yeah.
the year, so I'm doing it.
Exactly. And then to your point, which I think is so powerful, is you followed it because it was fun, which meant it was meant for you. Our soul tells us when something's meant for us, when it feels expansive, follow that. If it feels constricting, maybe take a step away. Maybe it's not for you right now, right? It's that idea of like, let your body, like you were saying, start to tell that story too, of like, this is a tool here for me. When I'm feeling expanded energy in here, it's telling me to start to move towards something versus like, oh, there's something here that's like blocking something. Maybe it's not for me, or maybe there's something here to explore.
Right, right. Very
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
The for me, being able to see energy, my makeup is a change maker. I
Mm.
come in when there's times of change. I love change. Some people not so much. So
Mhm.
think about when change comes in, not everybody's ready, not everybody wants it. So
Mhm.
sometimes there's a little mudslinging to the change
Right.
maker.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I love it. Let's do it.
So I had a lot of mud on the windscreen and I just
Yes.
needed to clear that off, you
I
know.
love
And
it.
then all of a sudden, oh, what's on the other side of the screen has been there all the time. Now
Yeah.
I can see it and work with it.
Exactly. It's there. It's just about accessing it, like you're saying.
Mhm.
So, you know what I think is so cool that I'd love to dig into is this idea of, from a clairvoyant perspective, how can you tell if someone is living outside of authenticity or not their most authentic self?
I can tell you from my perspective, from the training that I have to learn to read energy,
Mm.
it's a step-by-step process. I go into a light trance. I'm
Mm.
looking at it's kind of like for me, like when you buy something at IKEA and they give you the expanded explosion view of like this
Mm.
bolt goes
Mhm.
into that and
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
It's looking at that explosion view on the body spirit level.
Cool.
And so seeing the layers of the aura, the chakras, the body system, how things run in there. So you have the body system, but then there's the higher self that reads on its vibration.
Mhm.
The higher self reading at a certain color vibration. And you can see, for me, I can look at that soul and go, well, they're about love and beauty. And so all of their lessons come through maybe love, relationships, being
Mm.
in relation to something, personal relationships, stuff like that. And oh, they look like a big Easter egg and lots
Ah.
of colors and things. So I'll look at the blueprint of who they are. But then when you look at where they're sitting right now, there might be some like fog banks
Mm.
sitting in their aura of like here's a gray confusion over here,
Mm.
here's a red not enough running over here, and so they're trying to be that authentic self of that love soul, but then they bump into these other color fog banks, and
Mm.
they try to get their energy going through that fog bank to express who they are, and they're trying to move through that to
Mhm.
get to who they are. What
Mhm.
I see sometimes too, though, is the universe listens to where we put our attention. So if, for example, you can read in their aura too, the way people manage their aura, and I'm doing a class next month on that. But if you look at, say, somebody that's got their aura kind of pushed back, and then you might see, well, there's information in the past they're trying to resolve or solve
Mm.
rather than being right here, right now. There's more of their energy in the back.
Mm.
And the universe looks at that and they go, well, here's this problem sitting here in this maybe blue, black color, like an old bruise in
Mm.
their space. You can look at it on a timeline and go, boom, that age or whatever.
Mm.
But it's like an old bruise. Maybe somebody feels like I didn't have any power at that time. Say they were
Mm.
4 years old. I
Mhm.
didn't have any power when I was 4 years old. And every day, and I'm gonna work on that, and I'm gonna draw about it, and I'm gonna write, and I'm gonna think about it. And our vital creative energy is going to the problem,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then this blue black gets a little bit bigger, and then
Mhm.
you see them later, and if again the more attention is going to, well, I have this problem, I can't be here yet until I solve that problem. It makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, that's kind of a strategy that we learn here. However, what I see energetically is if our creative vital energy is looking at the problem,
Mm.
then we actually fuel it. Now it's a little bigger. The universe is going, oh, you like to solve problems. Let me
Mhm.
help attract another scenario so you can take a look at it from a different angle, and it attracts another person that reminds you of that, or another place that reminds you of that. Keep in
Mm.
mind, though, it's the universe going, hey, I got you. You want to learn about that? Let's try it with a different scenario. So as long
Mm.
as that's sitting there, the universe sort of attracts to it. So if you ever feel like, why am I a victim to this? I'm driving down the road, somebody cut me off, victim to that, and somebody just yelled at me down the road, didn't make, or in the grocery store, didn't make any sense. Just take a look if there's an old um, image there that's out of time, out of place. Our
Mm.
creative energy is going to try to solve it, and it's magnetizing other life scenarios to it. And again, I want to qualify that when I look at it like that, I see their guides right behind them going, I see you want to work on this. I'm here to help you. Let me
Mhm.
help you with that. Let's try it with this other scenario, a person that's less scary or something. And so it's not that you're more a victim. It's the universe is trying to help you. On the other hand, what I see when people get to a place that can, kind of work through it to a certain area, to a certain amount, and then spin your creative vital energy towards what you do want to create. And
Yes.
then this other thing starts to have less energy, less vitality, and all of a sudden you don't need to solve it anymore. It's just sort of dissolved. While
Mm.
this thing gets created with our creative vital energy, this is really who I am and what I want to create. So just a reminder, where are we at on our journey? What do we really want to create? Do I want to just solve problems? Maybe
Mm.
you're a good problem solver and you can help other people solve problems. So that would be a good creative use of that. But that's sort of a couple of different ways that looks from a clairvoyant perspective. But
That
for
is
me, for my
so
training.
cool. Yes, exactly. Because it will be different for maybe everyone or maybe just certain people. And so it's this idea of like, it's so cool as you describe it, what you're seeing, because it's so interesting the difference in like the way that I see things and the way that other people see things, that none of it is right or wrong. It's all just so beautiful. But what I love is what you're speaking into is you're able to put the puzzle pieces together on someone else's behalf that they might not be consciously aware of. And that's what's so powerful about leaning into this clairvoyancy, or really leaning into like the way in which you can see things allows other people to be like, wait, yes. And it validates what was there or what desires to heal. And it also allows people to redirect their energy towards something that they can build versus towards something that's like kind of breaking them down so that they can rebuild. It's kind of a both and process where it's like, yes, it's here and let's heal it, but let's also spend a lot of energy on what we want to create too, because that's going to create more of that as well. So I think it's kind of speaking into the manifestation process too, which I think is so cool. And like what I was thinking about as well is that idea of like, I remember, or I've heard a lot of people talk about this, and I think about some of my past relationships too, where if you're dating someone and then you break up and then you date someone else and you have similar problems come through and you're like, oh, okay, it's the same thing, just a different package, or a different person, but I'm still learning that same lesson because it's energetically stamped somewhere that I'm sending energy to. Can I clear it?
Exactly. That's an example of your guide going, oh, great job, honey. Now let's fine tune that a little more with
Yes.
this one.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Oh, so cool. Amazing. Amazing. So
When
go
I
ahead.
was just
Yeah,
going to say,
please.
look, in talking with guides and stuff and
Mhm.
people's guides, and we have to be really not hyper vigilant, but discerning. Is that my actual guide or is that just some passerby?
Yeah.
So that's another conversation. But when I'm looking at people's guides and working in this way, I invite them up so that they're in stronger communication, and
Mm.
they've always got our back. They've
Yeah.
always got the person's back. And this idea of here's that thing that I wanted to work on, like looking from a soul perspective too. If you're a love soul, you love learning through relationships. So
Mm.
it's no harm, no foul that you dated that person or that it broke up. Spirit couldn't care less. Like experiment, have fun, date, don't date, whatever. It's all good as long as we learn from it. If, however, we stayed angry for the next 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
that would be something that the guides would come, hey, come on, you really got to forgive.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I am curious now that you mentioned that about knowing if it's the guide or if it's a passerby. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, there's a lot of games out there. There's
Yeah.
a lot of wannabes that want to come in and they'll say, hey, psst, 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 I'm your guide. Yeah, yeah, that's it. I'm your guide.
Mm-hmm.
And they might put on a persona. They may even hand. I've seen this literal. They'll put up a picture of somebody really famous, and they'll go, "I'm this person,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm choosing just you to talk to." You know, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm Jesus or I'm Archangel Michael or something. I'm just going to talk to you, and I would be cautioned on that one. Really tune in. In that case where they show you a stagnant picture, you could just look at their eyes. There's no movement, there's no life force. If it were truly
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, you would be so blown away by the love energy, you'd be crying
I know.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you just feel that expansion within you. Like when he comes in, when I'm channeling, and he comes in, it's like, oh my God, it just feels like my whole body is just vibrating. Like it's just,
Yeah.
it's so much love. And it's true. I have been brought to tears before. Not every time, but I know that it is Jesus coming in because it feels so strong. Feels so strong. And it feels like love. So what's interesting is I went through my own experience where I was like, um, I was receiving a message and I realized I'm like, but that one doesn't feel right. And I remember receiving the guidance, then it's not yours. It's this idea of like really getting in touch with our intuition. We're receiving messages all the time, especially if you're connected to being able to hear other people's thoughts. Like, let's say you get on an airplane and you're like, I don't have a fear of flying. And then you get on the airplane and you're like, why am I freaking out? Oh, because I'm hearing everyone else's thoughts. I had that happen to me before I was really fine tuned into that and protecting my own energy. And so it was like, oh my gosh, okay, it's not mine. Give it back. Like just like really just like saying like, okay, it's not mine. I give it back. You know, it can be as simple as that and kind of do a pressure test or like an intuitive test of like, if it feels good, it's probably yours, meaning it feels right. Like it feels expansive. It feels like for me, that's what it feels like. Like I get tingles. I get like just this, oh, it feels so yummy energy. That's like, oh, it's right for me versus like it doesn't totally land, but it feels like the thing I should do. It's not mine. It's not mine. It's like the
Yes.
second it feels like I have like question marks or it's fuzzy, take a minute. It's probably not yours. Or maybe there's something there that's kind of yours, kind of not.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that going back to the Jesus one, it's a love vibration that is not that present here on earth.
Mm.
So it's not the same as with your partner or your kids. That's up there.
Yeah.
This is just out the roof.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really amazing.
Yeah. What are your favorite spiritual gifts to play with? Do you have ones where you're like, gosh, that blew me away? Like, whoa. Like, do you just out of curiosity, what are your favorite spiritual gifts? Or maybe, it's like a child, maybe we can't pick our favorite, but is there one that just blows you out of the water when you do it or you tap in? Or do you have moments where you're like, whoa, like that was really cool?
I see miracles every week with
Yes,
people's
let's talk about
transformation.
miracles. Yes. Tell us what you've
It's
been witness to with miracles and healings and because I want people to know that miracles are real. And so often we're like, that there's no way that's possible. I have witnessed miracles time and time and time again. I cannot wait to share more about that on the podcast of just all the miracles that I've witnessed to that I'm like, this could not have happened if I tried. I would love to know, like, what is that for you? What have you witnessed? What have you been a part of? Share that.
it's tapping into the unlimited, isn't it? To the authentic.
Yeah.
And so to me, healing isn't having a magic wand, although that would be really cool.
Yeah. Of course.
When the Harry Potter books were coming out, I was in clairvoyant training school and I was like,
Oh,
I'm
so
at
cool.
Hogwarts.
Exactly. I know I do that every time we go on walks with my son. He'll pick up sticks. He's like, "What's this?" I'm like, "It's a wand." I'm like, I should probably clarify it's actually a stick. So, whatever. It's fine. So, yeah, keep going. Sorry, I got on a tangent.
And now I lost train of thought.
So,
Transformation,
you were talking
healing with
about
others.
miracles that you've been privy to and just the
Yes.
beauty of what's unfolded. in your space.
Yeah, reading somebody to me is like picking up a new novel. I don't know what's on any page yet. I
Yeah.
don't know the theme of it yet. I don't know how it turns out yet. It's just looking from a blank space. Part of my training, I have to clear my matches so I don't read through my own story.
Mm,
But that's another thing. I love so many tools, but I'll give you an example of a transformation. And it's a man who wrote like a 5-page testimonial for
mm,
me, which got lost. I was working at a spa, and I would go and I would do a class one evening, and then I would do readings and healings for a couple days. And this man comes in, he's not my normal looking client.
mhm.
He's like 6'6", tattoos, handlebar mustache, long
Mhm.
hair,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, hi.
Yeah. Let's go.
But what's interesting about that tough persona is immediately I saw, well, he's a love soul too.
Oh, I love that. Oh,
He's got
yes.
this, kind of biker stance, but oh, that I see you.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, he didn't know what he was signing up for. He said, I saw your picture in the flyer and it just clicked. I need to go in there. And I love this place. It's a transformational spa and it's really set for healing and transformation. He said, well, I'm going to try this. And he came in and said, I don't even have a question. I said, okay, great.
Awesome. Yeah.
Let's just see. So because I was in a room with him, I could do a little hands-on healing. And I got to this place on the leg, and I said, well, the energy looks like a knot,
Mm,
and it's not flowing, and it's really harsh, and these are the colors, and this is what it looks like. And the age is here, and well, before getting into the details, he said, I've been to 3 surgeries, and they said I'll never walk properly again. That's all that can be done. I
mm,
used to do martial arts and, all these activities and things. And and I thought, okay, well, here, and then I just start like the book. You don't know what's in the book. I don't know yet. Started looking at, okay, it's this color, it has this quality, and here's the age that you were, and it's around a relationship. But the trick is, it was not allowed, forbidden. And he
mm,
went, oh yeah, I know what that one was.
mm,
I
mm,
just said, okay, well, this is the resistance to the environment or circumstances saying you can't have this,
mm,
because you did. So it's those energies kind of pushing against each other that make the pretzel in there.
mm, mhm.
So rather than take the person or the problem out of there, release your resistance. So I'm coaching him through forgiveness.
Yes.
He totally got it. As
Yeah.
soon as he was able to recognize, and again, he wrote this whole testimonial that was
Yeah.
just really beautiful. As soon as he realized, yeah, this was truly about, um, the circumstances at the time. I realize now as an adult looking at it, I can totally forgive that part of me that
Mm,
was involved. That's always the tricky part. We can forgive the other, but we get stuck a lot on the self
mhm. Yeah.
forgiveness.
Mhm.
Once he got that, I saw it literally unravel.
Oh, yes.
So I'm just pointing my psychic pointer.
Yeah. Yeah. My little wand, my
there's
finger.
there's a ton of techniques here too, but ultimately it's our own forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
Is
Yes. Yeah.
how much we can heal.
Yeah, absolutely.
He finished the healing. I don't remember if there were tears. There's so many tears. But he walked up to where he was staying. It was 100 steps to get there. Normally his leg would be really hurting. And he got up there and he realized, wait a minute, my leg doesn't hurt. It always hurts. I'm going to keep walking. And he kept going another quarter mile or something. He's like, I can't even find the pain.
Oh my
It's
God.
it's not here. And he
Yeah.
was like,
Yes.
I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't have this problem when I went in.
Yeah.
That was truly a remarkable transformation. And it was all around self-forgiveness.
Absolutely. Yeah. Body chills on that. That's just
And this
that's
was
what
like
I'm
40
keep going.
years later.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so we
wow.
think of, oh, that happened, I put it away, I don't think about that.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter if you don't think about it, if you've stored it away somewhere,
Which we do. All of it's stored away, consciously or unconsciously. If we haven't dealt with it, it's there. Yeah.
and if you look, oh,
Yeah.
there it is. Oh, I see it.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is why it's so powerful to have someone who can see before we've developed our gifts, or to learn from them, who are able to see it. And then they point us in the right direction. And we're like, oh, yeah. The validation of like, apparently that is a big deal that I forgive that. Sometimes we don't think forgiveness is that big of a deal. We're like, whatever, this person sucks, I'm moving on. It's like, you're not moving. It's still in the cells of your body. It's time to actually take a look at it and just release it. It's like, I always go back to this, but that idea of like taking poison and expecting the other person to die, that anger
Yeah.
analogy of like, we're
Yeah.
just holding on to the poison when we're thinking about the other person. It's not actually maybe affecting them that much. It's like, it's all us. Let's release it.
That's exactly right. A lot of keywords in there.
Hmm.
Validating who we really are.
Hmm.
Um, uh, uh, yeah, and the authenticity again of, if I say I put that in the past, like in his case, teenager or something, 40 years later,
Yeah.
I thought I dealt with that. No, it's still sitting there. And the result in this case was 3 surgeries
Wow. Yes.
of
And it's so interesting because the surgery, if
physical
we haven't dealt
manifesting.
with it, keep going. Yeah. Yes.
Well, it ultimately had so much energy on it, and the idea of forbidden, and he's like, "But I want it, but it's forbidden, but I want it, but it's forbidden." And
Yeah.
those energies in conflict kind of squished together and formed this pretzel-looking
Mm.
energy.
Hmm. It's so interesting that you mentioned like the pretzel, the knot. I remember there was a healing that I did on myself. I enrolled in this like emotional intelligence training. This is before I really knew anything about my spiritual gifts, and or to the extent that I know them now. And so I remember the exercise itself, I could not so I had an abusive nanny and I could not remember her name. I had like blocked it out. And I remember in this exercise um feeling like it finally started to come out. The layers started to come out. And I remember physically feeling something untie within my sacral and realizing like, oh my God, it's been tied this entire time and I had no idea until I actually physically felt it untie within my body. It was so interesting. And it was like, and I could remember her name. And all of a sudden, it was like, oh my gosh. And it was like so freeing because I had stuffed it down and I was putting more and more layers on top of it. Like, oh, that doesn't exist. And the second that onion taken off the top layer, next. Oh, there's the core.
Yes.
Then it unraveled. And I was like, it was like, honestly, thousands of pounds released from my body. It was wild. It was so cool. So I guarantee, I don't know if he felt it unravel or not, but I can tell you I physically felt it. And obviously something did because he was walking with ease after that. How cool.
Yeah, that point of getting to a core picture, that's something that I'm interested in helping people uncover. And so, different clairvoyants have different specialties. Some people may love reading past lives, or somebody loves reading relationships. A very select few may be good at future forecasting. So we have different specialties. I love looking for those core pictures, and so hopefully I'm attracting people that are interested in ready. I have to look at how much they can have and not give too much, because some people,
Yeah.
if you give them too much, then they leave screaming.
Yeah. Yeah. It's baby steps. Yeah. Like sometimes we are consciously don't want to know things yet. We stuff it down so deeply that it really is an unlayering.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that, give me a thumbs up and be sure and subscribe so you get the next one. Meanwhile, here's a couple more videos.